Right now, as of July 17th, 2026, 60% of all Google searches end without a single click to a website.
Yeah, it's a massive shift.
It is. I mean, the era of the blue link is basically dead. So, welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Our mission for you on this deep dive is to decode a massive, largely invisible structural shift in how information is discovered online. We are anchoring this entire analysis on a newly released industry document from exactly today, July 17th, 2026. It's the SEO Daily Technology Report.
And that 60% zero-click statistic you just mentioned, it's paired with an even more aggressive metric from the same report.
Oh, right. The AI overview numbers.
Exactly. Currently, 89% of brand search results feature Google AI overviews.
That's just wild. 89%.
Yeah, the primary mechanism for online discovery is no longer a search engine retrieving a list of relevant pages. I mean, it is a generative engine synthesizing definitive answers directly on the results page.
Right.
So the traditional playbook of, optimizing for a top ranking to generate traffic, that has completely mutated. It's now about optimizing to earn the status of being cited by an AI.
Okay, I mean, let's unpack this. Because if 60% of traffic is just gone, the fundamental math of running a publishing business or like a digital storefront is broken.
Completely broken.
Yeah. I want to look at the mechanics of why these clicks are vanishing. And more importantly, how a creator or a business establishes any kind of authority if users aren't actually visiting their servers to read their content anymore.
Well, the vanishing clicks are a direct result of the computational cost and the risk associated with generative AI.
The risk of hallucinations.
Yeah, exactly. Because the AI overview is synthesizing an answer and, presenting it as a definitive statement on behalf of Google. It cannot afford to hallucinate.
Yeah, that would be a PR nightmare for them.
Right. It cannot afford to rely on spam or thin affiliate content either. It requires absolute certainty, which forces a structural change in how trust is evaluated.
Which brings us to the February 2026 Google update.
Yes, the February 2026 Google Discover Core update entrenched this by algorithmically shifting priority to topic-by-topic expertise.
I'm struggling with how a machine actually measures something as subjective as expertise or trustworthiness algorithmically.
It's complicated, but it's all about validation.
Because the report constantly references EEAT, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. For years, that was just a manual guideline for human quality raters.
Yeah, human raters used to just read it and score it.
Right. So how does a piece of code measure trust today in 2026?
Well, it measures it through semantic relationship mapping and off-page validation.
Mm.
I mean, the algorithm is no longer just crawling your page to see if your text matches the user's query.
Okay.
It actually cross-references the author's entity profile against global knowledge graphs. It runs sentiment analysis on the contextual text surrounding backlinks pointing to your domain.
Wow. So it's reading the mood of the websites linking to you.
Basically, yeah. It looks for digital footprints of genuine public relations. So press mentions in established publications, citations in academic papers, or, actual brand volume searches.
Right. Like people physically typing your brand name into the search bar.
Exactly. EET evolved into a hard ranking signal because the AI requires those off-page validation metrics to calculate a confidence score before we'll even touch your data for an AI overview.
So just to give an analogy here for you listening, it's kind of like having a hyper-efficient personal assistant who goes to a restaurant, reads the menu, eats the food, and then just describes the meal to you.
That's a really good way to put it.
It's incredibly convenient for the diner, but absolutely terrifying for the restaurant owner who needs people to actually walk through the door and buy a drink.
Right. The restaurant goes out of business, even though everyone loves the description of the food. And what's fascinating here is that traditional SEO optimization is no longer enough to beat a lesser-known page.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So a flawlessly coded, deeply researched article published by an independent site can get buried simply because it doesn't have a Forbes mention or a massive PR apparatus behind it.
That seems so unfair to independent creators.
In many highly competitive verticals, yes, it is. The report shows this is especially true for YMYL topics.
Your money or your life?
Right. Which encompasses finance, health, legal, and major commercial queries. The AI overviews aggressively reward established brands because, Well, established brands have an undeniable footprint of real-world authority.
So the AI doesn't just read your site, it measures your reputation across the entire web.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Traditional on-page SEO is no longer enough to offset the risk the AI takes by citing an unknown entity. Your only armor against being ignored by generative extraction is actual brand significance in the real world.
But if Google is hoarding 60% of the clicks by satisfying the user directly on the search page, the traditional referral traffic model is just starved.
It is.
So where is the remaining viable referral traffic actually coming from for these brands right now?
The traffic is fractured. We're in a multi-engine ecosystem now.
Mm.
Google is no longer the sole discovery platform.
Right.
And optimizing solely for Google's crawler means ignoring the other half of the discovery ecosystem.
Mm.
The July 17, 2026 data shows trackable, meaningful referral traffic originating from ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and Claude.
Wow, Claude is sending significant traffic now.
Yeah, these platforms function as primary discovery engines for hundreds of millions of users now.
And this creates a massive logistical problem because each of those engines operates on a fundamentally different algorithmic architecture.
They absolutely do.
The report details how Perplexity functions almost like a retrieval-augmented research assistant. Like, it heavily prioritizes recent, highly cited sources and actively wants footnotes.
Yes, Perplexity loves a good footnote.
Right. But then ChatGPT favors conversational depth and leans heavily on those established EEAT signals we just discussed. And Claude looks for logical flow, nuanced reasoning, and balanced arguments. Here's where it gets really interesting, but also a little exhausting. Are you telling me a content team has to write one way to please ChatGPT, another way for Perplexity, and yet another for Claude?
No, thankfully.
How does anyone manage that without losing their mind?
Well, they don't try to change the prose to appease the engines. That would be impossible. The solution detailed in the report is a pivot toward GEO.
Generative engine optimization.
Right, which focuses on the underlying data structure rather than the surface-level writing. It's less about changing the writing and more about changing the structure behind the scenes.
Okay, so how are they doing that?
The most critical development here is the widespread adoption of the llms.txt file standard.
Let's break down the mechanics of the llms.txt file, because the report notes it is currently seeing 5 to 15% adoption among major websites.
Which is huge growth for a new standard.
Yeah, for sure. I understand it acts as a companion to an XML sitemap, but how does it actually interface with an AI crawler? I mean, how is it different from the old robots.txt?
Think of the llms.txt file as giving the AI crawler a pair of night vision goggles.
Okay.
Before this, large language models were fumbling in the dark. They were scraping the visual layout of your HTML, trying to guess which text was your core brand narrative and which text was just a sidebar advertisement.
Right. They couldn't tell the difference between the main article and a cookie pop-up.
Exactly. So the llms.txt file sits in your root directory and feeds hierarchical, machine-readable data directly into the AI's processing framework.
So you're basically handing the AI a clean summary.
Yes, you're explicitly telling the crawler, when summarizing this organization, prioritize these specific facts, cite these specific core URLs, and reference these primary data points.
That's brilliant. You are bypassing the visual rendering of the website entirely and feeding the raw, prioritized context straight into the model's training parameters.
Effectively, yes. It is how you control your brand narrative across a fragmented multi-engine landscape.
And because visibility is now split across ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and Google, entirely new monitoring infrastructures have emerged, right?
Absolutely.
The report mentions tools like Trackings.ai and AthenaHQ are now mandatory.
Yeah, you can't survive without them in 2026.
Because they track AI visibility by engines, specific prompt variations, regional differences, and even time-of-day fluctuations.
Which is crazy, but necessary because these models update their contextual windows dynamically.
But there is a fatal flaw in this pipeline that I keep thinking about.
What's that?
Well, if we point the AI to our most important content using an llms.txt file, how do we guarantee the crawler doesn't misinterpret what it reads? Because human language is incredibly messy. It is full of idioms, implied context, and structural ambiguity. Generative models notoriously struggle with implied context.
That ambiguity is exactly why generative engine optimization requires a rigid translation layer.
A translation layer.
Right. We have to strip away the ambiguity of human language and replace it with deterministic machine logic.
Which brings us to Section 3 of the report, Schema and Entity SEO.
Exactly. This is achieved through schema markup and entity SEO, specifically utilizing the JSON-LD format.
I want to look closely at JSON-LD because the report highlights a massive surge in structured data deployment, like specifically FAQ, how-to, product organization, and breadcrumbless markups.
It's everywhere now.
Yeah. And for you listening, if you aren't digging into the code daily, JSON-LD stands for JavaScript Object Notation for Linked Data. It essentially turns unstructured paragraph text into a rigid, organized database.
It creates a semantic web.
Right, like labeling every item in your house so a robot butler can find it in the dark.
That's exactly it. When a crawler reads a standard paragraph about a shoe, it has to use natural language processing to infer the brand, the size, the material, and the price.
Which is a lot of work for the crawler.
Yes, that inference requires computational power and introduces a margin of error. JSON-LD removes the inference.
That just tells it what it is.
Right. It explicitly labels the data. It says the entity is a shoe, the brand attribute is Nike, the material attribute is leather, the price attribute is $120.
You are feeding the AI pre-processed variables rather than making it parse a sentence.
Exactly.
And the report notes that FAQ schema is having a massive renaissance because of this.
Very really is.
Because historically, developers implemented FAQ schema hoping Google would feature those questions in a little drop-down on the search page.
Yeah, the old people also ask boxes.
Right. But now they are doing it because well-structured FAQ content perfectly mirrors the prompt and response architecture of an AI assistant.
It's highly extractable.
Yeah, you are pre-formatting your content into the exact conversational structure the generative engine wants to output.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that leads directly to the core philosophy of entity SEO. We have completely transitioned away from optimizing for keywords and are now entirely focused on defining and mapping entities.
I need clarification on that distinction. Because honestly, the industry uses those terms interchangeably a lot.
They do, but they are very different.
To me, if a user searches for running shoes, that is a keyword string. So what makes it an entity?
A keyword is just a string of alphanumeric characters. It has no inherent meaning to a computer.
Okay.
An entity is a defined node in a knowledge graph. It's a specific person, place, organization, or concept. And more importantly, an entity has directional relationships.
Directional relationships, like how things connect.
Exactly. The AI understands that the entity of Nike has a relationship with the entity of running shoes, which is a subentity of the broader concept of athletic wear.
So it understands the hierarchy.
Right. Entity SEO is the bridge between human language and machine logic. It's the practice of structuring your content to prove to the AI that you possess comprehensive knowledge of how all the nodes in your specific industry connect to one another.
But mapping out thousands of nodes and edges for every entity on a site, while simultaneously writing llms.txt files, formatting JSON-LD arrays, and tracking brand visibility across 4 different AI engines. I mean, the computational load of this workflow is staggering.
Oh, it's massive.
This isn't something a marketing team can just manually manage in a spreadsheet anymore.
No, it is physically impossible to execute manually at scale. The technology stack used by professionals has undergone an aggressive evolution to handle this data processing.
Which brings us to the 2026 SEO Command Center.
Yes, the July 17th, 2026 report outlines the specific software architecture that teams are deploying right now to survive this.
Let's examine that tech stack, starting with the primary operations hub, Semrush.
They are dominating right now.
Yeah, the report lists Semrush Pro at $119.95 a month, noting it has significantly widened its market lead specifically due to its 2026 Copilot features.
The Copilot is a game changer.
It is. They haven't just bolted a chatbot onto a dashboard. They are using generative AI to autonomously interpret the data.
And that shift from data presentation to algorithmic interpretation is key.
How so?
Well, previously, a tool would show you a graph of declining traffic, right? And it was up to the human analyst to cross-reference that with ranking drops, backlink losses, or technical errors to find the cause.
Right, you had to play detective.
Exactly. But Semrush's Copilot analyzes the disparate data streams simultaneously and suggests the specific strategic action required.
It just tells you what to do.
Yes. Furthermore, their newly integrated AI visibility toolkit directly addresses the multi-engine tracking problem we discussed earlier.
Right, bringing ChatGPT and Perplexity visibility metrics into the central dashboard. It functions as the central nervous system for the operation.
Definitely.
But when we look at the off-page signals, the backlinks and PR mentions that fuel those EAT metrics we talked about, the gold standard remains Ahrefs.
Ahrefs is still king there, running at $99 a month for their light plan.
What stands out mechanically in the report is the sheer infrastructure RFs is utilizing in 2026. I mean, they are refreshing their link index for top-tier domains every 15 to 30 minutes.
It is a massive technical achievement.
The bandwidth and distributed computing required to crawl the web at that velocity is astronomical.
It really is. But raw data velocity isn't enough anymore. You need anomaly detection to protect your brand's trust signals.
Right, because of negative SEO attacks.
Exactly. RS deployed AI Site Explorer Insights specifically to monitor link velocity anomalies.
So how does that work in practice?
So for example, if a competitor launches a negative SEO attack against you by pointing thousands of toxic spam-filled links at your domain.
Which happens a lot more often than people realize.
All the time. The AI detects the standard deviation spike in your link acquisition mathematically. It identifies the toxic pattern and isolates it before it can degrade your BET score in the eyes of Google's neural network.
Wow, you are literally using one AI to defend your reputation against another AI.
That's 2026 for you.
It's crazy. And for the on-page content optimization, the standard listed is Surfer SEO.
Right.
It utilizes natural language processing to scan the top-ranking entities for a topic, measures the semantic density of those concepts, and generates a real-time content score.
But adapting to the 2026 landscape, their SRP analyzer now specifically tracks AI overview presence.
Which is huge.
Yeah, and the platform features deep integrations with generation tools like Jasper and ChatGPT.
Which is necessary for scaling up entity coverage. However, none of that content matters if the underlying HTML and server infrastructure are broken.
No, the technical plumbing has to be flawless.
Which brings up Screaming Frog SEO spike.
Absolute classic.
Still going strong. It's a localized desktop crawler running $290 a year, though they still offer a free tier for up to 500 URLs. Let's be clear about the technical debt this tool is looking for, specifically things like JavaScript rendering issues. When a modern website relies heavily on JavaScript, there is a severe risk that the search engine crawler literally cannot see the text on the page because the code hasn't executed properly on the server side.
It's a huge problem.
Yeah. Historically, a technical SEO would run a crawl and hand a development team a spreadsheet with, like, 10,000 missing meta tags and rendering errors.
And the development team would inevitably ignore it because it lacked business context.
Right. Why should we fix this?
Exactly. They have product features to build. Screaming Frog fundamentally solved this friction by utilizing AI to prioritize technical debt based on probabilistic traffic impact.
So it translates code errors into revenue loss.
Precisely. The AI analyzes the crawl data and tells the executive team if engineering resources are allocated to fix these 12 specific JavaScript rendering delays, it will unblock the crawler, index these product pages, and historically, that volume of visibility yields this specific dollar amount in revenue.
That is so smart. It bridges the translation gap between the engineering department and the C-suite.
Yeah, this software is no longer just a diagnostic scanner. It is a strategic business consultant.
Okay, but if the diagnostic tools are essentially running the strategy, translating the technical debt, tracking the AI engine visibility, and identifying the required entities, what is the actual production team doing?
That's the big question.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, who is actually writing the content to fill this massive semantic web in 2026?
Well, the industry has fully transitioned from SEO as a manual craft to a semi-automated production pipeline. The report highlights 3 dominant platforms driving this automation right now.
AirOps is listed as the leader in multi-model workflow automation.
Yes.
This is fascinating because they aren't relying on a single underlying foundation model.
Right, they mix and match.
Yeah. They map workflows that utilize Claude to structure the logical arguments and entity relationships, and then hand that structure over to GPT or Gemini for stylistic generation and real-time data integration, publishing the output at scale.
It's incredibly efficient. We also see Writesonic dominating the long-form article production at $249 a month on their professional plan.
And they're doing something really specific with Schema, right?
Yes, they're dominating specifically because they bake the JSON LD schema markup directly into the generated output.
So you don't even have to add it later.
Exactly. And Koala AI is heavily adopted for its unified workspace.
Right, bundling everything.
Yeah, bundling the text writer, chat, image generation, and lead magnet creation into a single continuous automated loop.
So what does this all mean? I look at this architecture, and it sounds like a perfectly sealed, closed loop.
It is getting very close to that.
I mean, it sounds like we've built machines to talk to machines. AI is generating the text via Writesonic, structuring the entities via Surfer, tracking the performance via Semrush, and synthesizing the final output for the user via Google AI overviews.
That raises an important question, though.
Yeah, where does new information actually enter this system?
That is the most critical vulnerability of the 2026 landscape. And it's why the report includes a massive caveat regarding human oversight.
Because of model collapse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If a generative model is only trained on synthetic data produced by other generative models, the structural integrity of the information degrades.
Like making a photocopy of a photocopy.
Right. The outputs become homogenized and mathematically average. The human element, the EET signals we discussed in Section 1, is the only mechanism preventing total homogenization.
It's the only thing that injects novel data into the ecosystem.
Yes. The human provides the experience. The AI provides the scale.
This circles all the way back to the experience metric in EET.
It does. The AI cannot physically test a new running shoe, cannot conduct a novel interview with an industry expert.
Right.
It cannot generate a completely new empirical observation. The human must provide the lived experience, the proprietary data, and the strategic direction.
So the automated pipeline simply provides the scale to structure that novel data so the machines can ingest it.
It's exactly.
Yeah.
Brands that thrive in 2026 are offloading the tedious structuring of llms.txt files and JSON LD to the automated stack, freeing the humans to generate the real-world authority and proprietary insights that the AI desperately needs to avoid model collapse.
It is a remarkable paradigm shift in how we structure human knowledge.
It truly is.
Let's recap the mechanics we've mapped out from today's July 17th, 2026 report.
Sounds good.
The standard blue link click is dead, with 60% of queries terminating in AI-synthesized overviews. We are operating in a fractured, multi-engine discovery ecosystem where ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude demand uniquely structured data.
Yep.
We've replaced keyword strings with rigid entity mapping using JSON LD and llms.txt files to feed information directly into the neural networks.
And we rely on a highly sophisticated AI-driven command center to do it.
Right. Semrush, RFs, Surfer, and Screaming Frog, all working to orchestrate these automated production pipelines.
It requires a fundamentally different operational framework than the industry utilized even 24 months ago.
It really does. For you listening, if you have been feeling the intense friction of this transition, if you've sensed that the old rules of digital discovery are failing, your analytics aren't lying to you.
No, they are not.
The underlying architecture of the internet has fundamentally shifted under your feet. But now you know exactly how the mechanics of it work.
You have the technical map to navigate a zero-click ecosystem.
But as we close out this deep dive, I want to leave you with a theoretical scenario based on the trajectory of today's report.
Okay, let's hear it.
We know that AI engines are actively penalizing low-authority sites and exclusively rewarding established brands. We also know they are actively scraping perfectly formatted llms.txt files and JSON LD schema to bypass HTML rendering, just to summarize data for users without requiring a click.
It is the most efficient data pipeline ever built.
Right. So if the data is perfectly structured and the machines are doing all the reading, how long until these AI search engines realize they don't actually need the human user to initiate the search at all?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Based on the automation loops we are seeing today, July 17th, 2026, when do Google's AI and ChatGPT and Perplexity just start negotiating, updating, and trading this structured information directly with each other's autonomous agents on our behalf?
That is a fascinating thought.
The internet has become a zero-click environment for the creator, but it might very soon become a zero-click environment for the user too, something to mull over as you map out your next entity. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep analyzing, keep adapting, and we'll see you next time.